Okay, in this video, I'm just going to go over the comprehension questions for the Odyssey of Homer. Over here on the left-hand side of the screen, I have the text. It's just the words, obviously, no pictures. It's not directly from the textbook, but the words are directly from the textbook. So it's the same story, word for word. Okay. Over here are the questions, obviously, and that's what you're focusing on, the questions. You may have your textbook open in your lap as well, looking at the text while you answer these questions. So find an example of imagery and write it below. How does the use of imagery make stories more interesting? Well, so examples of imagery, like we talked about when we were going over the vocabulary. Imagery is just when an author uses the senses to help you better visualize what's going on. So it's not just imagery, though, isn't just the author telling you what he or she sees, but it can also include, imagery can also include what the person is feeling, hearing, smelling. All the senses are included when we think of imagery. So in your text, you can go through, and there's a lot of examples of imagery where they're using the senses to help describe something. So you can choose any of the many examples of imagery from the poem. And then how does the use of imagery make stories more interesting? So imagery, this is that's a tougher part to answer. Basically, like we said, it makes it more interesting because it appeals to the senses and people can relate to that, because we all have the same senses. So when an author uses those different senses to describe something in the text, it's more appealing to us because we can relate better to what's going on in the text. Okay. If an author, for example, says, I walked out on the field and could smell the fresh cut grass, something like that. We all know that smell of fresh cut grass, or even better, the example you hear people talk about after it rains, how it smells like rain. Okay, so an author could say, before I even walked outside, I could smell the rain. And we all know that distinct smell that we smell when it has just rain or it's about to rain. So we can relate to it. It makes it more interesting. Okay. Number 2, Odysseus is considered a heroic or legendary figure. What qualities does Odysseus possess that make him both heroic and at the same time human? Well, there's a few things that Odysseus does. One, he's facing the gods, right? He's facing the gods of Greece. So in order to stand up and, challenge the gods, you must be a pretty strong and heroic figure if you're going to challenge the gods. And at one point in the text, let's see if I can find it. Okay, right here. Odysseus swam for 2 days and 2 nights until he sighted land. That's exactly pulled from the text, and that's a great example of his strength. I mean, can you imagine swimming, not even running or biking, but swimming for 2 days and 2 nights straight without stopping? That's a superhuman feat. So these are the things that make him so heroic. Now, what makes him human at the same time is many times throughout the piece, he can't do it by himself. Okay. So, for example, the sea goddess sees him. And she helps him out, right? He asks for help. And then later, the river god, he asks for help. He says, "Save me, O river king, for I am flying from the sea god's anger." So he's human. He can do these superhuman things like swimming for 2 days and 2 nights, but yet he does also have to ask for help, just like you and I. Everybody will need help at some point. So that's what gives him more human qualities. All right, let's go on to number 3. After reading Daily Life of Ancient Greece, and let me fix this real quick. Daily Life of Ancient Greece, why do you think the citizens of Greece might want to hear about the heroic exploits of Odysseus? Well, think about it. Why are the stories of, for example, Paul Bunyan so popular here in the United States? These stories are popular because they tell the stories of our history, right? Paul Bunyan exemplifies what we like to think of ourselves as, powerful, strong Americans. And it also goes through the history of our country. For example, the creation of the Mississippi River is one of the Paul Bunyan legends. The creation of the Grand Canyon comes from a legend of Paul Bunyan. So it's the same thing with Odysseus for the Greeks. He gives them a sense of pride. He describes some of their history for them, and so he's a heroic Greek figure. And in these poems, these epic poems, he is drawing attention to all their gods that they can relate to. So he gives them a sense of pride in their country, just like Paul Bunyan gives us a sense of pride and an idealistic view of how we would like to see ourselves as Americans. Odysseus is probably how many Greeks would like to see themselves as, hey, we respect the gods, but we can also do great things with the help of some of the gods as well. But we have it within ourselves to be able to do some superhuman things ourselves. All right. I hope this was helpful. I will see you on the next video.